What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're going to talk a little college football, and this is more important than any other video I've ever done this year, talking about straight up college football, because it's about my Florida Gators and who they're looking at hiring for their head coach role. Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's the big name. He's the guy that's been linked. He's the guy that Florida's, you know, if you check the Florida Twitters and the Florida Reddit, oof. Chip Kelly's airplane's gone to Florida about 19 times by now, if you're trusting everything that you've seen there. And a lot of people, you know, on Twitter, and then when I do streams and stuff, ask me what I think about Chip Kelly potentially going to Florida. Obviously because I'm a Gator fan, and then Chip Kelly, my time with Chip in Philly. You know, our time together as a fan and a coach, our tumultuous relationship. How did I feel about this? Like, how? What are the odds, right? What are the odds? Someone like me that's, you know medium-sized position here on YouTube, at least in the Madden community, in the football community, that my two teams potentially could be affected by the same man, the same polarizing figure. Maybe one of the most polarizing figures in football of the last decade in Chip Kelly. So, obviously, Chip's time at Philly was good and bad. There's plenty of ups and downs. Overall, if you look at his record, it was good. He was really good in Philly. Outside of, like, the time of possession and how tired our defense got, Chip did a lot of good. And then once they gave him power, once they gave him the right to be able to trade and cut and, you know, get DeMarco Murray and Kiko Alonso and get rid of Deshaun Jackson and Sean McCoy and Evan Mathis and I feel so bad talking about that. But there was good ups and downs. That's the best way we put it. 2 years, the first couple of years of Chip Kelly was awesome, man. We're the most exciting team. Can't miss football. Michael Vick slinging the rock. Nick Foles 27-2. Chip Kelly could do no wrong. And that's kind of the way that I want to try to look at him as a Gator coach potentially, because at the end of the day, even when Chip Kelly was doing good and doing big things and being the innovator of the NFL, there's still the people that just said he's a college coach. And the fact that, you know, I always kind of acknowledge that. I always kind of acknowledge his offense was a college offense. The way he coached his teams, the way he pretty much treated grown men still in that, like, college kid mentality, which is why there's so many rifts in the locker room. I was like, yeah, he's still a college coach. So that is why, where so many people would assume that with my Gators, I wouldn't want Chip Kelly 10 feet of Florida, because I saw what happened, saw the destruction, the downfall of Chip Kelly in Philly. No. Florida needs a shot in the ass. They need a shot of goddamn adrenaline they need to freebase it. They need to freebase a shot of adrenaline, and that is exactly what Chip Kelly can do. Looking at what Florida is good at, defense. What Florida is bad at, offense. What Chip Kelly's good at, offense. What Florida has, defense. We're still going to have defense. If Chip Kelly comes in, he's going to come in with a defense that's incredibly young. This year we played a lot of freshmen, so that for the future, like David Reese is a monster. Half our good players on defense this year are true freshmen or sophomores. So Chip Kelly is going to inherit a tremendous defense going forward, and then he's going to be able to manipulate that offense and get some damn points. I'm sick and tired. Like, I haven't even cared about Gator games this year. I've watched them. Haven't gone out of my way to watch them. Like, it wasn't like I had to, rearrange my Saturdays to make sure I watched Florida football, because it's been boring, man. This is not a fun Gator team to watch. They're big team. I think when you lay out all the college teams, Florida's fringe top 10 all time. Like, I'd say you probably have to have Florida between that 8 to 15 range if you're ranking all the top programs of all time in terms of competitive championships. The amount of NFL talent that they have produced, and it's just right now the state of Florida football is not fun. It's terrible to watch. So Chip Kelly would be that shot in the arm. He would make Florida football exciting again, which I think first and foremost is one of the most important things. So looking at Chip Kelly and what he brings, I mean, in college during his time with Oregon, he was a perennial top 5 offense in the country, not just in the Pac-12, in the country. Chip Kelly's, he's revolutionary. That's not even too much of a stretch. What he did at Oregon, that offense was scary. They were putting up 50 points against even like some of their toughest competition in the Pac-12. It was a failure. So I guess the only negative about the offense is I don't necessarily think Florida has all the pieces that Chip Kelly wants. But I mean, it's a year one. You're never gonna have the mold or the style of players that you want in a year number one. We get Felipe Franks. We may get Matt Corral, who's one of the best recruits at the quarterback spot. We need a QB. There's no way other around it. But I think from skill position spots, we can make it work. We can make it work with Chip Kelly. I know Chip Kelly has kind of a niche of an offensive line, and maybe we'll have to look at rebuilding that a little bit, but there's some good pieces on the offensive line for the Gators as well. Another thing, kind of a knack against Chip Kelly, is that he doesn't recruit well. Everyone says, oh, the fact is, Chip Kelly can recruit well. He just doesn't like it. Everyone knows Chip Kelly's the kind of guy just wants to be football. But the fact that, you know, he was able to get the type of players, the fact that he was able to get a Marcus Mariota, D'Anthony Thomas, all these big-time players while he was at Oregon, that's an uber market. He has to compete with USC, UCLA, the team that, you know, I guess Florida's competing to get his services. There's bigger dogs than Oregon. And I know Oregon kind of had like the Nike brand behind it. They had, you know, top of the line kind of equipment and training facilities and stuff like that. But Chip Kelly, the recruiting itself, people want to play with his offense. People want to go there. They know that if you play in a Chip Kelly offense, you're gonna get drafted. There's no other way. I'm gonna be a potential Heisman winner. So Chip Kelly has something that not a whole lot of other candidates, if you will, for the Gators. I mean, Scott Frost has been linked, UCF's coach. I think he might go to Nebraska. I think I think it was Nebraska because that's where he went. That's his alma mater. Dan Mullen from Mississippi State. Those are like the two other big ones outside of Chip Kelly. But the best thing about this for Chip Kelly, outside of the fact that I do believe he would have the easiest time recruiting because obviously everyone wants a piece of that Chip Kelly offense. Kids from high school, 5-star recruits, are like, I want to go to the NFL. That offense is going to let me put up 40-some touchdowns. The last point I want to try to make about his recruiting is that when he was at Oregon, it was still Oregon. Even though Chip Kelly is not as bad a recruit as people thought, Chip was able to friggin' build that Oregon team with not a lot of 5-star recruits. It wasn't like, you know, he was the Alabamas, where Alabama straight up just gets every 5-star recruit, or Georgia or anything like that. Like Chip Kelly's team, someone posted it on the Reddit. It's like 3 stars, 3-star running backs, 3-star skill position players. Chip Kelly is able to make them work, and that's exactly right, because that was the mentality in Philly, right? The mentality in Philly was that Chip Kelly's scheme would trump all. He did not need Evan Mathis. He had this guy, Andrew Gardner, went to Oregon or whatever. He could run his scheme. Don't need Deshaun Jackson. We have Josh Huff. He was in Oregon. He could run the scheme. That is how you fail in the NFL, because in the NFL, where everyone is so talented, your scheme can only go so far. You need your talent. But in college, scheme can trump all. Scheme can not only attract talent, but scheme can make talent. And I firmly believe that even with Chip Kelly, he's going to find a way with this roster right now, if in fact he becomes our head coach. It's going to be electrifying, because the final part of the video is, why would Chip Kelly choose Florida over Tennessee or UCLA, or maybe another job might potentially open up? And it's because ego. Chip Kelly is one of the most egotistical head coaches I've ever seen in my life. I can't, right off the top of my head, outside of maybe Nick Saban, I can't think of one in college football that has more of a bigger ego than Chip Kelly. The guy, you know, he walks in the room. I mean, he could walk into a room of like friggin' rocket scientists and stuff, and he's still gonna know and think he's the smartest guy in the room. And ego is what is gonna drive Chip Kelly to Florida. Obviously, there's a chance after making this video he doesn't go to Florida. I firmly believe he will. But the reason why I think he'll pick over UCLA, because he's been there, done that in the Pac-12. He's already conquered that. And then when you look between Florida and Tennessee, I mean, come on. I mean, Tennessee seems like they want this myth of chasing the dragon that is known as John Gruden. So Chip Kelly would want to come to Florida because the SEC, when was the last time a team in the SEC had a good passing offense? I can't name one. I literally, off the top of my head, the last time someone put up gaudy numbers in the SEC, like Cam Newton and like Tim Tebow, but those are running QBs. They had all the touchdowns, but they weren't a prolific passing offense. And then Chip Kelly, from an outsider looking in, he's going to say, you know what, I can do that. I'm going to be the guy that makes Florida into a prolific passing offense. And I'm going to take the SEC by storm, just like I did when I was with Philly. The league couldn't believe the kind of numbers we were putting up. That is the ego. That is the mentality that Chip Kelly has, and that is why I think he's going to come to Florida. Because I also think he wants to stick it to Saban. Chip Kelly coming back, he wants to be known. It's the ego again. He's going to see Nick Saban and go, you know what? My offense can beat that Alabama defense. I can beat Nick Saban. Give me the tools. Give me the time. I can beat him. I don't know how practical that's going to be. No really anyone in the history of Nick Saban being at Alabama has been able to beat him consistently. But that is like the kind of challenge, because Chip is so ego-driven that would be like, he wants to come to Florida. And he may end up burning the whole team to the ground. He may end up just setting this goddamn team back 5 years or something like that. Or maybe if he plays a couple good seasons, you may need to be worried that he wants to bounce to NFL once again. But I think that ride, the opportunity of potentially having Chip Kelly, even though he's super egotistical, even though his offense is so good that it's going to make your defense gassed, but hopefully by that point we're up by 20. But the good with the bad for Florida, we just, at the end of the day, need some excitement back on this football team. It is so boring to watch the Gators right now. And it's so frustrating to watch a team that has a very talented defense. This year's a little bit of a downturn, but really in the Jim McElwain era, the last 2 of his 3 years, we had, in my opinion, the best defense in the country. Top 3 defense in the country. And it was constantly squandered by just inability to move the ball or do anything on offense. I just want to see some good offensive football for the Florida Gators, and I think Chip Kelly can be that guy. So, any college football fans want to get their take on Chip Kelly potentially going to the Florida Gators, let me know. Hopefully Chip Kelly, while looking for a coaching gig in college, could potentially return on the channel, do a Chip Kelly rebuild or 2. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Just stay tuned for that. But, yeah, there you go. Until next time, guys, it's your boy C4 saying peace out.